Let's start with Anthropic. What's your takeaway from that legal case? It is a U.S. company that Pete Hegseth and Donald Trump says is a risk to national security. Explain this court battle, how we got here, and what it means for Anthropic moving forward.
Yeah, I think this court battle is kind of interesting, and honestly, I have a personal vetted interest as an author. In this case, there was about 500,000 pirated books where they actually they trained AI on the data set, the contents of the book, but they didn't actually request permission to do it, nor did they purchase access to the books. So when something's copyrighted without permission, if you take that information, it causes all kinds of problems. So I'm actually part of that class action lawsuit, which I find interesting here. And it's somewhere in the neighborhood of $1.5 billion that they allegedly agreed to settle on. So it's a pretty big amount. For each author, it's roughly $3,000 in payment. But I think the interesting part, Sean, is it kind of sets a precedent. Is AI or these advanced models allowed to take these rich data sets and just take copyrighted information and all kinds of information without doing the proper procedural protocol and get permission or licenses or pay for the information? And that's a very slippery slope there because of the IP.
Do you think that the legal frameworks around intellectual property are adequate for fast-paced AI space? Given what you just talked about, I would say the answer is no.
No, you're exactly right. Because think about it, a lot of the framework and the legality, the laws out there were created pre-AI, before it really took off.
Right.
Therefore, they're kind of catching up with it and trying to, in a sense, kind of patch the laws. The courts are patching things, the laws are patches. They really haven't fully addressed it. So what's needed is proper framework around AI and the collection of these data set models. That's really important. So everybody's kind of a hurry up to rush to do this now because they see this precedent that's set, especially with this Anthropic, which looks like a pretty big settlement there, which tells me there's going to be other legal cases that are forthcoming that are going to be maybe even larger. So it's going to affect all the big tech companies and really all the ways that AI is collecting this data.
Yeah, and then we have other safety concerns. What kind of concrete steps do you believe we are seeing in making AI systems more transparent and more ethical? And I bring this up because there's also this issue with the Department of Defense. The head of Anthropic was concerned about the way that Claude was used during a recent military action by the United States, sued to say, look, we don't want that. And the United States, under Donald Trump, kind of went back and said, look, this entity is a threat to national security. So we want them to stop doing business with the U.S. government. It is a complex case for the courts. The courts have kind of said, okay, Anthropic can go ahead and do business with the U.S., but not with the DOD. So, I mean, it's getting so confusing.
Yeah, there's layers of confusion. You make a brilliant point there. And I think there needs to be more transparency and there needs to be more safety concerns put out there and discussed up front here. There's got to be disclosures in place. And it's not, the framework there is not yet solidified, let's say, and companies are really rushing to do this right now, real time. And I think if they don't do it, it's going to be a disaster out there, be it a government entity using it or even companies. It's got to be transparent, period.
Okay, let's go back to HumanX. This conference is presenting a lot of new AI collaboration ideas. So are we going to see more emphasis on global cooperation or more nationalistic approaches to AI policy?
Well, I think there has to be some level of globalization where they're contributing together on the research aspect because it's just so big. The collaboration is very, very important there. But at the same time, we have to think about it. AI leadership from country to country is going to be kind of handled a little bit different or compartmentalized a little bit. So it's going to be a challenge. It's probably a little bit of both, I think. There's going to be some shared technology, some shared IP, but there's definitely some strategical geopolitical climate that's going on there to hold those assets there near and dear to their heart so they could be in the lead there. Because we know it's a huge race, especially between US and China. It's a race in the AI world, that's for sure.
Yeah, and those two countries are simply dominating all of AI right now. So where do you see the emerging markets fit into the AI race in the next 5 years, say?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think it's really the dominant markets, certainly US and China, as we just mentioned there. In the next 5 years or so, they're going to be the main players, but there's still going to be others that will have involvement in different types of models there. So it's finding that balance, and each country is going to try to find its sweet spot, but it's a lot of global partnerships that are going to have to be formed between countries so everybody can play fair in the sandbox. That's important for AI to survive and for it to thrive.